Social securities, I don't know about the pensions in Africa, but the social security in Africa are all properly governed by central banks. And they have investment guidelines. So in the investment guidelines of social securities, the assets which are supposed to match the liability, the profile of the liability of this, they cannot go beyond, let's say, 20, 30% in real estate, 20, 30% in equity, 20, 30%. And unfortunately, some of the central banks in Africa, they look at the assets of the social securities are for them to buy treasury bills or to finance the governments. So, and they intervene, governments intervene in the investment policies of social security organizations. So I don't think it will be very easy to say, oh, we are going to reach the 700 million. There are limitations about cross-border investment. And I asked this morning about what are they doing about dollarization and currency risk when they want to create about this fund. Pension is it's a pillar 2 type benefits within the social protection system. Social security in principle is supposed to be the pillar 1 of social security system. There's a big confusion here. And it is very important to realize that in Africa, in particularly, the one that made the big mess is the confusion of what we call social security for the public sector employees. The social security for public sector employees is a pillar 1, pillar 2, because one single employer. And when the labor markets in many countries, they wanted to have benefit like the public service benefits, which is really a pillar 1, pillar 2, they forced the social security for the private sector to be generous social security, which is indirectly killing the insurance industry. It's a mess. Unless there is a major reform of understanding what is social security is all about, we will have uphill struggle. We have $100 billion and we can gonna be grow. Yes. And the answer is really to extend it to the informal sector, knowing that the informal sector is a big chunk that is not being covered by social security.
Exactly.
But they don't realize that the informal sector, their capacity to contribute is by far less than the capacity to contribute to the existing social security. So if we are talking about the informal sector is constituting around 80% of the market, that doesn't mean that if you reach out to them, the total assets of the social security is going to go 5-fold. We will be lucky if the total assets will go up double. They were comparing the growth of Uganda compared to the growth of Singapore. But it's very interesting, they mentioned that Singapore is like exceeded Uganda by 10 times in the same period of time. But they didn't talk about that the main problem in Uganda in particular is that the per capita income in Singapore compared to Uganda is 100 times, not 10 times. The growth in population is by far faster than the growth of the economy. So what's happening, you are getting a poorer country, unemployment, poverty. The government is not addressing these issues of fertility, and especially now we have a longer life expectancy. So people are living longer, but living longer poorer. And these are issues that I think governments have to address. It's not the problem of social security organization, but it's the problem of policy makers to really see what's happening. You cannot compare with countries where the fertility rate is different than the fertility rate in Africa. So these are issues that has to be looked at to solve the economy of Africa. I believe when you look at long term, it's never too late. I think there are two different parties in the room. They have the technocrats who are the administrators of social security, who they mean well, and you have the business people, which is the investors, the bankers, and everything. They really don't have a social mind. They are really after the funds of the social security organization, the funds of the pension funds. So they have different objectives. They don't have although they may have a civic action mentality, but you have two different people in the room. We have the social security people, which they are administrators of providing service to their constituents and members. And then you have all these investment managers and banks that are trying to just take money, and hopefully they'll do good.